to us from Uganda. Solomon, always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much. Let's now bring in Trix Ingado to look at international headlines. Trix, I'm sure that attack in London is all over the entire world.
Absolutely, given the way it took place and, of course, just the weight of the country that it took place in. So, of course, we're going to take a look at some papers, and you can bet that that's going to be one of the big stories that are making headlines across the globe this Thursday. So we're starting off with the BBC that's giving us a more human angle to this story, whereby they're giving us the face of that police officer who was killed, stabbed to death by that terrorist, or rather by that suspect who was also gunned down. So they're trying to tell us about how long he served in the British police force, and you know his background, why this is really sad that he gave his life trying to protect the people who are being just mauled over by that vehicle that was plowing through Westminster Bridge. So that's the BBC. It says that 5 are dead and 40 injured, like we've heard from very many stories that we've been highlighting throughout the day. And of course, this is the man that is being given a lot of focus on this day because he was a cop. As some witnesses said that they just looked over their shoulders and they saw this man being attacked with a huge knife and stabbed to death. Although a lot of efforts were put into trying to save his life, it did not work out, and he lost his life in that tragic incident in London. So let's move on to the next paper and see what's making headlines. We have the CNN also giving us more on what happened in London. 4 killed, 40 injured, and near UK Parliament, police say. So, of course, why this is a huge story is because it was quite close to the Parliament, and the car actually rammed into the railings surrounding that building. And you can see from that from your screen there are ambulances. There are a lot of people surrounding their security officers, people who are actually wounded and being attended to. And then on the other side of the page, you have US officials saying info suggests Trump associated may have coordinated with the Russians. There's a lot of information, confusing information on this issue. We have people from the Trump camp saying there was no communication, a lot of investigations going on by the FBI, and of course this information that is related that there was indeed some communication between the Russians and the Trump associates and his aides. And of course the big question is to what extent was this information, and you know, how would this change the outlook of the presidency that is the Trump administration. Let's move on to the next paper and see what's making headlines. We have the Daily Record, one of the U.S. International papers, rather, giving us an oversight of what happened on that fateful day. So here we are having a man, the suspect, being rolled away on a gurney. Then they says, why hate will not win. So clearly this paper is siding with Theresa May and her voice and other leaders who have come out to condemn the actions of this man. So we're having the fanatic brought mayhem to the streets of London yesterday, an attack on our democracy. This is what that paper is going with. Then we have the Courier still telling us more on that attack. It says terror in London, just simply like that, of course giving us a summary of what happened on those streets, for the same picture but with a wider angle, giving us a view of that man being wheeled away after he carried out his sinister attack. That's the Courier, also giving us what happened in London yesterday. Then we are having on your screens the National, also still on that. This is giving you an overview of how heavy this story was and how widely it was covered across the globe, telling us more on what happened. As you can see there, there's a security officer aiming his gun at that person, but I think at this point he had already been downed, and of course they were trying to see how his state and just figure out whether he can be apprehended, whether he's hurt or whether he's actually dead. Turned out he was, and it says terror grips London. Then we're having more, the Press and Journal, 5 dead, 50 maimed in London terror attack. So the numbers keep varying from paper to paper because this is a developing story, and of course, you know, people were injured. We had a woman actually falling off that bridge, the Westminster Bridge, into the River Thames, and she was fished out, taken to hospital, but still had multiple injuries. It's unclear whether she was pushed or she just jumped to save her own life, but still giving us how an overview of how the gravity of the situation that happened outside of Parliament. I think I'll wind up with that paper. I'll hand you back over to Linda Ogutu for more on World.
Trix, thank you so much. Listen, people, you're still focusing on that attack that happened in London. And according to the Independent, they're saying that ISIS has now claimed responsibility for the London terror attack that killed at least 3 victims. A statement published by the group's Amaq propaganda agency said a soldier of the Caliphate had carried out the atrocity by the Houses of Parliament. That is the latest that you're receiving, according to The Independent. We're still trying to verify this. When we do, you'll know. Thank you so much for watching Worldview. We now leave you with country facts. This afternoon, we're focusing on Philippines.